Marcus Tate, a black tech CEO, strolled into Atlanta's Sapphire Crown Hotel, expecting his reserved penthouse suite. Clerk Evelyn Warwick smirked, claiming it was unavailable despite his confirmation. She offered a basement room, her tone thick with scorn. Marcus protested calmly, but security loomed and Evelyn's whispered slur cut deep. Humiliated, he left, resolve igniting. This spark would reshape his future, thrusting him into a battle against a rigged system. What would Marcus do next? Before diving in, share where you're watching from. If you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe, because tomorrow's episode will blow you away. Marcus Tate's polished shoes clicked on the pavement as he stormed out of the Sapphire Crown Hotel, the sting of Evelyn Warwick's slur burning in his chest. Atlanta's humid night air clung to his tailored suit, but his mind was razor-sharp. Replaying the clerk's smirk, the security guard's looming shadows the basement room offered like a slap. He wasn't just a guest, he was a CEO, founder of Tate Tech, a cybersecurity firm that had cracked the Fortune 500. Yet, in that marble lobby, he was reduced to nothing but his skin. His phone buzzed, a text from his assistant, Carla, asking about the suite. He typed back, fingers trembling. Meeting tomorrow. We're digging into this place. This wasn't just personal. It felt systemic, a machine built to grind people like him down. He climbed into his sleek black sedan, the engine's hum steadying his pulse. By morning, he'd have a plan. Back at Tate Tech's glass-walled headquarters, Marcus gathered his inner circle in a conference room, overlooking the city's skyline. Carla, a wiry woman with a knack for finding digital needles in haystacks, sat beside Jamal, a coder whose hacks had once exposed a corrupt senator. Marcus recounted the hotel incident, his voice low but steel-edged. The team nodded, their faces tight with recognition. They'd all felt that sting, different places, same venom. He leaned forward, hands clasped. "This isn't just about me," he said. "If they're doing this to me, what's happening to others? I want everything on the Sapphire Crown. Booking systems, guest records, employee chats, everything." Jamal cracked his knuckles, already typing. Carla pulled up the hotel's public-facing site, her eyes narrowing. "Let's see what they're hiding," she muttered. The next 3 days were a blur of coffee and code. Marcus barely slept, his penthouse apartment littered with takeout boxes and laptops. Jamal's team breached the hotel's firewall, slipping into their booking software like ghosts. What they found turned Marcus's stomach. Black guests identified by names, zip codes, or even manual flags were systematically denied premium rooms. Suites, even when vacant, were marked unavailable. Instead, they were shunted to lower floors, often near service elevators or maintenance closets. One internal email from a manager read, "Keep the high rollers happy. You know who doesn't belong up top." Marcus's jaw clenched as he read it aloud. Carla cross-referenced guest complaints. Dozens of black families, professionals, even celebrities, all reporting similar slights. This wasn't one clerk's bias, it was policy, baked into the system. Marcus felt a fire kindling. He called a contact at the Atlanta Chronicle, a reporter named Simone, who'd covered Tate Tech's rise. "Meet me," he said. "I've got something big." At a dimly lit diner, he slid a USB drive across the table loaded with screenshots and data. Simone's eyes widened as she scrolled. "This could blow up," she said, "but you're poking a bear. The Sapphire Crown's owned by Richard Hale, the real estate king. He's got half the city council in his pocket." Marcus nodded, unfazed. "Let him come," he said. Simone promised a story by week's end, and Marcus left feeling lighter, like he'd fired the first shot in a war he could win. Back at the office, his team celebrated quietly, clinking energy drinks. Jamal grinned, saying, "We got 'em, boss." Marcus allowed himself a smile, picturing Evelyn's face when the expose hit. He imagined the hotel scrambling, maybe even firing her. The thought was sweet, a balm for the humiliation still raw in his gut. He checked his phone, refreshing the Chronicle's site. Nothing yet, but soon. He leaned back, letting himself believe justice was close. The data was ironclad, the reporter hungry. What could go wrong? Then his phone lit up, a news alert from a rival outlet. "Tate Tech CEO accused of illegal hacking," the headline screamed. Marcus's stomach dropped. He clicked, scanning the article. It claimed he'd breached the Sapphire Crown's systems unlawfully, endangering guest privacy. Quotes from an anonymous source painted him as a vindictive opportunist, twisting his fight into a crime. The stock ticker on his laptop ticked. Down Tate Tech shares sliding 5% in minutes. Carla burst in, her face pale. It's everywhere, she said. Twitter, CNN, even local news. They're saying you made it all up. Marcus's mind raced, piecing it together. Richard Hale. The man Simone warned about, the hotel's owner, had struck first. He must have had eyes on the hotel's servers, catching Jamal's hack before the story broke. Marcus cursed himself for underestimating the man. Hale wasn't just a landlord. He was a predator, with tendrils in media, tech, politics. The article mentioned a leaked email from Marcus to his team, one he'd never sent, urging them to fabricate evidence for clout. It was a forgery, but convincing enough to sow doubt. His inbox flooded with hate mail, slurs piling up like ash. Fraud. Thug, worse. He called Simone, but her tone was cold. The Chronicle's spiking the story, she said. My editor got a call from Hale's people. They're threatening lawsuits. I'm sorry, Marcus. He hung up, his vision blurring. The room felt smaller, the city's skyline mocking him through the glass. Carla and Jamal watched silent as he paced. We can still fight, Jamal said, but Marcus heard the doubt in his voice. The data was still there, but now it was tainted, his credibility shot. He opened Twitter, seeing Downtown Tate Tech scandal trending. Among the vitriol, one tweet stood out, from an account with Evelyn Warwick's face. Looks like someone's not so smart after all. A winking emoji followed, like a knife twist. Marcus's hands shook as he set the phone down. He'd thought exposing the hotel would be enough, that truth would win. But Hale had turned his weapon against him, wielding lies like a sledgehammer. His company, his life's work, teetered on collapse. Investors were calling, demanding answers. His board was scheduling an emergency meeting. He pictured his employees, mostly black and brown faces, who'd trusted him to lead. Now they'd pay for his misstep. The weight of it crushed him, but beneath the fear, something harder took root. Hale thought this would break him. Evelyn thought her taunt would sting. They were wrong. He turned to Carla, his voice steady. Get me everything on Hale, he said, not just the hotel, his businesses, his deals, his dirt. If he wants a war, he's got one. Carla nodded, already pulling up files. Jamal cracked his knuckles, diving back into code. Marcus stood, staring at the city below. He'd been naive, thinking a single expose would topple a man like Hale. This was bigger, uglier. The Sapphire Crown wasn't just a hotel, it was a fortress of power, and Hale its king. Marcus had poked the bear, and now the bear was biting. Back. His phone buzzed again, another alert. Tate Tech stock had dropped another 3%. A new article quoted a concerned shareholder calling for his resignation. He didn't need to guess who planted it. Hale's shadow loomed, his influence choking Marcus's world. Evelyn's tweet lingered in his mind, her smugness a spark to his fury. He'd been humiliated once in that lobby, and now again in public. But he wasn't done. He'd find a way to hit back, to turn their lies into his leverage. The data was still his, buried but not gone. He just needed time and a sharper blade. As he sat, plotting, a new email pinged. Anonymous, no subject. He opened it and a single line chilled him. Back off or your family pays. No signature, but he knew Hale's hand. His sister Tanya flashed in his mind, her kids' laughter from their last barbecue. He gripped the desk, knuckles whitening. This wasn't just about him anymore. Hale had raised the stakes, dragging everyone Marcus loved into the crosshairs. The fight he'd started in that lobby had grown teeth, and it was coming for blood. Marcus Tate's office felt like a war room, the air thick with the hum of laptops and the bitter tang of cold coffee. Atlanta's skyline glittered beyond the windows, but inside, the mood was grim. His phone vibrated relentlessly, each ping, a new dagger. Another article slamming Tate Tech, another investor pulling funds, another slur-filled email. The Tate Tech scandal hashtag was a wildfire, fueled by Richard Hale's lies and Evelyn Warwick's venom. Marcus's exposé on the Sapphire Crown Hotel's racism had been buried, twisted into a narrative of his own deceit. His stock was tanking, down 12% in 2 days. But he wasn't done. If Hale wanted to play dirty, Marcus would take the fight to the streets. He opened Twitter, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. This was his shot to reclaim the narrative. Could he turn the tide, or was he walking into another trap? He uploaded the hacked data screenshots of the hotel's booking system, emails flagging black guests for special handling, guest complaints ignored. His post was raw, unpolished. I'm Marcus Tate, and the Sapphire Crown Hotel is racist. Here's the proof. They tried to silence me, but I'm not backing down. Share this. The tweet exploded, retweets climbing into the thousands within hours. Hashtags like Nud Boycott Sapphire Crown and Justice for Marcus trended, drowning out Hale's smear campaign. Marcus leaned back, a flicker of hope sparking. His team watched the numbers climb, Carla's eyes wide. It's working, she whispered. Jamal nodded, refreshing the analytics. We're viral, boss. Marcus allowed a tight smile. Maybe truth could still win. By morning, Atlanta was electric. Protesters gathered outside the Sapphire Crown, their signs bold. No room for racism. Fire Evelyn Warwick. Marcus drove past, his chest swelling as chants echoed down Peachtree Street. He parked, joining the crowd anonymously, his hoodie shielding him from the sun's glare. A young woman with braids handed him a megaphone. You're him, aren't you? She said. Speak. He hesitated, then took it, his voice steady. This isn't just about me, he said. It's about every black person they've pushed down. The crowd roared, fists raised. Marcus felt invincible, like he'd cracked Hale's armor. Was this the turning point he'd been fighting for? The protest swelled, spilling into the hotel's driveway. Guests gawked from balconies, some filming, others retreating. Marcus spotted Evelyn through the lobby's glass doors, her face pale as she barked orders to security. He caught her eye, holding her gaze. She flinched, and he savored it. The crowd's energy was a pulse, each chant a hammer against the hotel's polished facade. Social media lit up, videos of the protest racking up millions of views. News vans arrived, cameras rolling. Marcus slipped back to his car, his phone buzzing with texts from allies. Keep going, man. You've got them scared. He exhaled, daring to believe he'd won this round. Could the Sapphire Crown survive this storm? Then his phone pinged. A new tweet from a verified account. Lena Carter, Tate Tech CFO. Marcus's stomach twisted. Lena had been with him since the start, a sharp-minded ally who'd navigated the company through its toughest deals. Her tweet linked to a blog post titled, The Truth About Marcus Tate. He clicked, his heart pounding. The post was a gut punch, forged. Emails, allegedly from Marcus, ordering his team to plant fake data to smear the hotel. Lena claimed she'd discovered his scheme and could no longer stay silent. The emails were meticulous fakes, but the damage was instant. Twitter turned, a Marcus lied trending alongside vile memes. Marcus called Lena, but her line was dead. She'd blocked him. He sped back to the office, his mind reeling. Carla met him at the door, her face ashen. It's bad, she said. Investors are bailing. The board's calling for a vote to oust you. Marcus sank into a chair, the room spinning. Lena's betrayal cut deeper than Hale's lies. She'd sat across from him, planned with him, laughed with him. Now she'd sold him out. He pulled up her post again, scanning for clues. A phrase caught his eye, buried in her bio, proud partner of Hale Enterprises. His blood ran cold. Hale had bought her, turned his closest ally into a weapon. How had he missed it? The protests shifted, some signs now reading fraud not fighter. Marcus watched from his window as the crowd thinned, doubt poisoning the air. His phone lit up with a new video, posted by Evelyn. She stood outside the hotel, her voice syrupy with mock pity. Poor Marcus Tate, she said, smirking. Thought he could lie his way to fame. Guess he's not so smart. The video racked up 10,000 likes in minutes, comments flooding with slurs and laughing emojis. Marcus's hands shook, rage and shame colliding. His employees avoided his gaze, their faith wavering. The board's email arrived, formal and cold. Step down by tomorrow, or we'll force you out. He stood, pacing, the city's lights blurring. Through his tears, Hale's shadow loomed larger, his reach suffocating. Lena's betrayal wasn't just personal, it was a masterstroke, turning Marcus's own people against him. He thought of his sister, Tanya, and her kids. The family Hale had already threatened. Quitting would protect them, but it would let Hale win, let Evelyn's smirk become permanent. He couldn't do that. He opened his laptop, pulling up every file on Hale's empire. There had to be something, a crack, a weakness. But the clock was ticking and his world was crumbling. Carla approached, tentative. "We can still fight," she said, "but we need a plan, fast." Marcus nodded, his jaw tight. "Get me Simone," he said. The Chronicle reporter might still have pull, despite spiking the story. He'd need media, allies, anything to counter Lena's lies. But Hale's money was a tidal wave, and Marcus was drowning. Evelyn's video played on loop in his mind, her voice a taunt he couldn't shake. He'd thought the protests were his victory, but Hale had been waiting, ready to flip the board. What was Hale's next move? The answer came at midnight, a brick crashing through his office window. Glass shattered, scattering across the carpet. A note was taped to the brick, scrawled in red. "Liar. Leave." Marcus's pulse hammered as he scanned. The street below. Shadows moved, too quick to track. He called security, but they found nothing. The message was clear. Hale wasn't just playing with lies now. This was war, and blood was next. Marcus gripped the note, his resolve hardening. He'd lost Lena, his reputation, his momentum, but he wasn't broken. Not yet. Comment number 1 if you think Marcus deserves justice for exposing the Sapphire Crown's racism, or if you believe Lena's betrayal proves no one can be trusted. Hit like, subscribe, and join the fight, because tomorrow's episode will shake you to your core. Will Marcus find a way to strike back, or is Hale's empire too strong to crack? Marcus Tate's office was a graveyard of shattered glass, the brick's note still clenched in his fist. Atlanta's dawn painted the skyline in gold, but his world was ash. Lena Carter's betrayal had gutted Tate Tech's board, with half demanding his resignation. The Marcus lied hashtag festered, Evelyn Warwick's mocking video looping in his mind. Richard Hale's shadow loomed, his threat against Marcus's family a blade at his throat. Quitting wasn't an option, neither was silence. He needed a battlefield where truth could still cut, a lawsuit. He'd sue the Sapphire Crown Hotel for discrimination, drag their racism into the open, and bury Hale's lies under evidence. His lawyer, Denise Brooks, was a shark, known for dismantling corporate giants. Could she outmaneuver Hale's empire, or was Marcus walking into another ambush? Denise's office smelled of leather and ambition, her desk stacked with files. She leaned forward, her braids catching the light as Marcus recounted the hotel incident. Evelyn's slur, the basement room, the hacked data proving systemic bias. He slid over a flash drive, loaded with booking records, emails, and guest complaints. Denise's eyes gleamed as she scrolled. "This is dynamite," she said. "We've got a pattern witnesses hard proof. Hale's team will squirm." Marcus nodded, his chest loosening. Denise filed the suit that day, naming the Sapphire Crown Evelyn Warwick and Richard Hale himself. The complaint demanded damages, policy changes, and Evelyn's termination. Marcus left her office feeling lighter, like he'd thrown a punch that might land. The case hit the news like a grenade. Outlets that had smeared Marcus now hedged, citing new allegations of hotel misconduct. Justice for Marcus crept back, faint but growing. Marcus spent weeks prepping with Denise, combing through data, lining up witnesses. A black doctor denied a suite, a professor shuffled to a noisy room, a family ignored after reporting slurs. Each story mirrored his, a mosaic of injustice. Denise drilled him on the stand, sharpening his answers. "Be calm," she said. "Let the evidence scream." Marcus practiced, his voice steady, picturing Evelyn's smirk crumbling. The courtroom loomed, a chance to reclaim his name. Was victory finally in reach? The trial began in a packed Fulton County courthouse, the air heavy with anticipation. Marcus sat in a crisp navy suit, his sister Tanya in the gallery, her eyes fierce with support. The judge, a stern white man named Harlan Voss, peered over wire-rimmed glasses. Denise opened with fire, presenting the hacked data. Spreadsheets showing black guests flagged, emails ordering staff to prioritize white clients. Witnesses took the stand, their voices trembling but clear. The doctor described begging for his reserved suite, only to sleep near a dumpster. The professor choked up, recalling her kids' confusion at being moved downstairs. Marcus watched the jury, a mix of faces, some nodding, others stone cold. He felt the tide shifting, hope rising. His turn came. He walked to the stand, spine straight, ignoring Evelyn's stare from the defense table. She sat beside Hale's lawyers, her lips curled in a faint sneer. Marcus swore in, his voice even. Denise led him through the night at the Sapphire Crown, the penthouse booking, Evelyn's refusal. The slur whispered as he left. The jury leaned in, one woman scribbling notes. Denise showed the booking system's code, proving racial flags. Marcus glanced at Judge Voss, catching a nod. It felt like a lifeline. He stepped down, adrenaline surging. Had he done enough to tip the scales? Hale's lawyer, a slick man named Pritchard, cross-examined with venom. He painted Marcus as a hacker, a liar, waving Lena's forged emails like, "Say flag. Why should we trust a man who breaks laws?" he sneered. Marcus kept his cool, denying the fakes, but Pritchard's questions were traps, twisting his words. Denise objected, but Voss overruled, his face unreadable. Marcus left the stand, unease creeping in. The defense called Evelyn, who played the victim, claiming Marcus intimidated her. Her voice quavered, a rehearsed act. The jury shifted, some frowning, others buying it. Marcus's hope wavered. Was the fix already in? Closing arguments came fast. Denise was a hurricane, her voice ringing. This isn't one man's story. It's a system built to degrade, proven by their own words. She pointed at Evelyn, then the data projected behind her. Pritchard countered, calling Marcus a desperate opportunist exploiting race for gain. Marcus watched the jury, praying. They saw through it. Judge Voss adjourned for deliberation, his gavel a thunderclap. Marcus met Tanya outside, her hug grounding him. "You did good," she said. He nodded, but doubt gnawed. Hale's reach was long. Could justice slip away again? The verdict came in 3 days, the courtroom electric. Marcus sat, hands clasped, as Voss cleared his throat. On the charge of discrimination, we find the defendant not liable, insufficient evidence. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Marcus froze, the words a sledgehammer. Voss continued, citing discrepancies in the data's authenticity. Lena's fakes had poisoned the well, and key documents' emails code had been misplaced by the court clerk. Marcus's eyes darted to Evelyn, her smirk blazing. Hale's team stood, smug, shaking hands. Denise whispered, "We'll appeal," but Marcus barely heard. The judge ordered him to pay the hotel's legal fees, a crushing $300,000. His savings, already thin, would vanish. He stood, legs heavy, as the gallery emptied. Tanya gripped his arm, her face tight. "This ain't right," she said. He nodded, mute, rage boiling. Evelyn lingered, whispering to Hale's lawyer, her laugh a blade. Marcus caught her eye, holding it until she looked away. He'd been so close, the evidence airtight, the jury swayed. But Hale had played a deeper game, buying the judge, rigging the system. Voss's nod had been a lie, a trap to lift Marcus's hopes before the fall. The courtroom meant for justice was Hale's playground. Outside, the air was thick, 90 degrees of Georgia heat. Marcus loosened his tie, his mind racing. The fees would gut him, but worse was the message. Hale was untouchable. Reporters swarmed, shouting questions. Marcus waved them off, heading for his car. Then a shout rang out. Not a reporter's voice, but something uglier. A bottle sailed from the crowd, shattering at his feet. Glass sprayed, cutting his ankle. Another hit his shoulder, pain blooming. He spun, seeing a mob 10, maybe 12 men. Faces twisted with hate, screaming slurs. "Nigger, fraud, go back to where you came from." They wore no uniforms, but their timing was no coincidence. Hale's hired thugs, sent to break him. Marcus ran, his loafers slipping on asphalt. The mob chased, bottles flying, one grazing his temple. Blood trickled, warm and sticky. He ducked into an alley, heart pounding, their footsteps closing in. A dumpster loomed, and he crouched behind it, breath ragged. The men passed, cursing, their boots crunching glass. Marcus waited, counting seconds until silence fell. He stood, shaking, blood staining his shirt. His car was a block away, but he couldn't risk it. He pulled out his phone, calling Tanya. "Get somewhere safe," he said. "They're not done." He limped to a gas station, its neon buzzing. The clerk, an older black man, saw his bloodied face and waved him inside. "You that guy from the news," he said, locking the door. Marcus nodded, sinking onto a stool. The clerk handed him a rag, saying, "They don't quit, do they?" Marcus wiped his face, the sting sharpening his focus. Hale had taken the courtroom, his money, his safety. Evelyn's smirk was a brand in his mind, her laugh echoing with the mob's slurs. He'd thought the law would be his weapon, but it was Hale's. The fight was far from over, but the rules had changed. His phone buzzed, a text from Carla. "Found something on Hale. Big. Meet me at the office." Marcus stood, pain flaring in his shoulder. The mob was a warning, the verdict a blow, but Carla's message was a spark. Hale thought he'd won, thought Marcus would break. He was wrong. Marcus stepped into the night, blood drying on his skin, resolve like iron. He'd find Hale's weakness, no matter the cost. But what had Carla uncovered, and would it be enough to turn the tide? Marcus Tate's bloodied shirt clung to his skin as he slipped into Tate Tech's headquarters, the Atlanta night heavy with heat. His shoulder throbbed from the mob's bottles, his temple stung where blood had dried. The courtroom loss still burned Judge Voss's verdict a betrayal, Evelyn Warwick's smirk a taunt. Richard Hale had rigged the system, buried Marcus's evidence and sent thugs to finish the job. But Carla's text found something on Hale. Big kept him moving. He'd lost the lawsuit, his savings, his safety, but not his fight. Tate Tech was his last stronghold, and a new product launch could save it. Could he pull it off, or was Hale already steps ahead, ready to crush him again? The office was a hive, coders hunched over screens, energy drinks littering desks. Carla met him, her eyes wide with urgency. She handed him a tablet, whispering, "Hale's got a shell company tied to the hotel's profits. Offshore accounts, shady loans, it's dirty." Marcus scrolled, his pulse quickening. The numbers were staggering, millions funneled through a Caribbean front. If he could trace it, he'd have leverage, but the launch came first. Tate Tech's new cybersecurity suite, Shield Lock, was set to debut in 3 days. A game-changer that could restore investor faith and stabilize the stock, now down 20%. He rallied the team, his voice firm despite the pain. "We're not dead yet," he said. "Let's make this launch perfect." The next 72 hours were relentless. Marcus worked through the night, testing Shield Lock's code, polishing demos. Jamal fine-tuned the servers, ensuring they could handle a global rollout. Carla coordinated press, securing slots with tech blogs and CNN business. Marcus's injuries ached, but adrenaline drowned it out. He pictured the launch, a packed ballroom, investors cheering, stock soaring. It felt like salvation, a chance to claw back what Hale had stolen. He checked the stock ticker, Tate Tech hovering at $30 a share, fragile but alive. The team ran drills, simulating traffic spikes. Everything was ready. Was this the lifeline he needed to keep fighting? Launch day dawned, the Atlanta Convention Center buzzing. Marcus stood backstage, his suit crisp despite the bandages beneath. The crowd was a sea of suits and laptops, investors, reporters, tech giants. He stepped to the podium, lights blinding, and pitched Shield Lock with fire, unbreakable encryption, real-time threat detection built to protect the world. Demos flashed on screens, flawless, the audience clapping. Questions came, sharp but impressed. Marcus answered smoothly, feeling the room shift in his favor. Investors whispered, nodding. He caught Carla's eye, her thumbs up a spark of hope. The stock app on his phone ticked up, $35, then $40. Victory was close. Could he finally outrun Hale's shadow? Then the screens flickered. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Marcus glanced at the main display, expecting a Glitch. Instead, a red alert blared, Tate-Tech servers compromised. Data breach detected. His heart stopped. The demo froze, replaced by leak customer names, emails, credit cards, scrolling endlessly. Gasps turned to shouts. Investors stood, phones out, tweeting furiously. Marcus signaled Jamal, who sprinted to a laptop, his face pale. "It's a hack," he hissed. "Someone's in our system." Marcus's mind raced. This wasn't random. Hale, the man who'd bought judges and allies, had struck again, targeting Tate-Tech's heart. The room descended into chaos. Reporters shoved mics in Marcus's face, demanding answers. How could Tate-Tech, a cybersecurity firm, get hacked? Investors stormed out, their trust shattered. Marcus stammered through a statement, promising to investigate, but the damage was done. His phone buzzed, the stock plummeting to $20, then $15. Social media erupted, a Tate-Tech fail trending worldwide. Bloggers who'd praised Shieldlock now called Marcus incompetent, a fraud who couldn't protect his own company. He left the stage, legs heavy, Carla trailing him. "We'll fix this," she said, but her voice shook. Marcus nodded, mute, rage boiling. Hale had played him again, turning his triumph into ruin. Back at the office, the team scrambled to trace the hack. Jamal's fingers flew, logs revealing the truth. A sophisticated attack, launched from an untraceable server. It wasn't just a breach. It was sabotage, timed to gut the launch. Customer data was exposed, contracts voided, lawsuits looming. Marcus's board called, their ultimatum clear: resign or face a vote. He hung up, staring at the city's skyline, its lights, mocking him. Hale's reach was a noose, tightening with every move. He'd thought the launch would save him, but it was a trap, sprung with surgical precision. How had Hale done it? His phone lit up, a new video from Evelyn Warwick. She stood in the Sapphire Crown's lobby, her smile venomous. "Looks like Marcus. Tate's empire is crumbling," she said, her voice dripping with glee. "Can't even keep his own data safe." What a joke. The video hit 1 million views in hours, comments flooding with racist bile. Con artist, thug, worse. Marcus's inbox overflowed, with death threats, each uglier than the last. "Watch your back. Your time's up." He deleted them, hands shaking, but the words lingered, a chorus of hate. Evelyn's taunt was personal, a reminder of that night in the lobby, her slur still raw. Carla burst in, holding a printout. "The hack's IP traces to a firm linked to Hale," she said. "It's thin, but it's something." Marcus took it, his jaw tight. Thin wasn't enough. Hale's shell company, the one Carla had found, was a ghost, its accounts buried in legal fog. He needed more proof, leverage, a weapon, but the clock was ticking. Clients were suing. The stock was in freefall, and his employees faced layoffs. He thought of Tanya, her kids, the family Hale had threatened. Quitting would save them, but it would hand Hale the win, let Evelyn's smirk become a crown. He stood, pacing, the office's silence deafening. The hack wasn't just a blow, it was a message. Hale could reach anywhere, destroy anything. Marcus's dream, Tate-Tech, was bleeding out. He pictured his team, their faces when he'd hired them, promising a future where talent trumped skin. Now they'd suffer for his war. Guilt clawed him, but rage burned hotter. Evelyn's video played in his mind, her laugh a spark to his fury. He'd been humiliated in court, bloodied by thugs, and now gutted in public. But he wasn't broken. He turned to Jamal. "Dig deeper into that IP," he said. "Find me a name, a server, anything." Jamal nodded, diving back into code. Marcus called Simone, the Chronicle reporter, leaving a voicemail. "I've got more on Hale, help me." He didn't know if she'd bite, but he had to try. The media, once his ally, was now Hale's weapon, amplifying Evelyn's lies. He needed to flip the narrative fast, but Hale's next move loomed, a predator circling. The threats in his inbox weren't empty, they were promises, signed in Hale's shadow. His sister called, her voice tight. "Marcus, they slashed my tires, cops won't do nothing." He gripped the phone, picturing Tanya's car, her kids' fear. Hale wasn't just coming for him, he was hunting everyone Marcus loved. The hack, the threats, Evelyn's video, they were pieces of a larger game, designed to break him. He told Tanya to stay with a friend, his voice calm despite the storm inside. He hung up, staring at the printout in his hand. Hale's firm, a faint thread. It was all he had. He'd follow it, no matter the cost. But what was Hale planning next, and could Marcus survive it? Comment number 1 if you believe Marcus can still expose Hale's corruption, or if you think Evelyn's cruelty deserves payback. Like, subscribe, and stick with us, because tomorrow's chapter will leave you speechless. What will Marcus do to save his company, and how far will Hale go to bury him? Marcus Tate's office was a fortress under siege, the Atlanta skyline a distant blur through bulletproof glass. His shoulder ached from the mob's attack, his bank account bled from legal fees, and Tate Tech's stock was a ghost, barely $10 a share. Richard Hale's sabotage had gutted the shield lock launch, turning Marcus's triumph into a data breach scandal. Evelyn Warwick's mocking video looped in his mind, her voice a splinter. Carla's lead on Hale's shell company was thin, a flicker in the dark. His sister Tanya's slashed tires were a warning, Hale's reach choking his world. But Marcus wasn't broken. He needed allies, a coalition to strike back. Could he find them, or was Hale's next trap already closing? He started small, reaching out to a contact from his early days, Aisha Grant, a community organizer who'd battled discriminatory landlords. Her voice crackled through the phone, sharp and knowing. "You're not the only one Hale's screwed." "Over," she said. "The Sapphire Crown's been doing this for years. I know people. Meet me tomorrow, West End, 8 p.m. Marcus hung up, a spark of hope igniting. Aisha's network could be his lifeline, a way to pool resources and hit the hotel where it hurt, its wallet. He spent the day digging, cross-referencing Carla's data on Hale's offshore accounts. The numbers hinted at tax evasion, maybe worse. If he could prove it, he'd have a weapon. The West End meeting was in a cramped church basement, fluorescent lights buzzing. Aisha introduced Marcus to a dozen others, black men and women with stories that echoed his. A lawyer denied a suite for her anniversary, a veteran shuffled to a moldy room, a couple humiliated on their honeymoon. Their anger was a current, electric and raw. Marcus shared his evidence, the hacked booking data, the emails. The group leaned in, faces hard. Aisha laid out a plan: pool funds, buy the Sapphire Crown, and gut its racist policies. "We've got savings, grants, donors," she said. "You bring the business muscle." Marcus nodded, his mind racing. Owning the hotel would be justice, a way to fire Evelyn himself. Was this the path to victory? The group formed a coalition, calling themselves the Crown Collective. Marcus brought in Tate Tech's financial team, crunching numbers to make the purchase viable. Aisha's contacts secured pledges from local businesses, churches, even a retired NBA star. Marcus worked 18-hour days, his injuries a dull throb, coordinating with accountants and lawyers. The hotel's market value was steep, $90 million. But Hale's mismanagement had left it vulnerable, its revenue tanking from bad press. Marcus's team projected they could raise $60 million, enough for a controlling stake with the right investors. He met with a venture capitalist, Regina Holt, who'd backed Tate Tech's early days. She listened, her eyes sharp, and pledged $20 million. Marcus left her office, fists clenched in triumph. The deal was real. Could he pull it off before Hale struck again? The collective's momentum grew, meetings buzzing with plans to rebrand the hotel as a beacon of equity. Marcus felt alive, the group's energy a shield against Hale's threats. He pictured walking into the Sapphire Crown, deed in hand, Evelyn's face crumbling as he handed her a pink slip. The thought was a fire, keeping him awake through sleepless nights. He checked his phone, stock steady at $12, a faint pulse. Tanya called, her voice lighter. "I'm proud of you," she said. "Keep fighting." Marcus smiled, the first in weeks. The collective was his army, the purchase his sword. He was close, so close to turning the tables. Was this finally his moment? Then, Aisha called, her tone urgent. "Emergency meeting," she said. "Tonight, same place, something's off." Marcus's stomach twisted. He drove to the church, the humid night pressing against his skin. The basement was packed, the collective's faces tense. Aisha held up a phone, playing a recorded call. A man's voice, smooth and cold, offered her $50,000 to ditch the plan. She'd traced it to a Hale associate. Worse, she'd caught one of their own, a quiet accountant named Derek, leaking their budget to Hale's team. Derek sat, head bowed as the group glared. "I needed the money," he mumbled. "My kid's sick." Marcus's rage flared, but pity stung, too. Hale was a virus, infecting everyone. Aisha wasn't done. "Derek set up a meeting for you, Marcus," she said. "Tomorrow, warehouse on Fulton Street. Said it was an investor. But I checked, it's a dead end." Marcus's blood ran cold. A setup. He looked at Derek, who wouldn't meet his eyes. "Hale's playing dirty," Aisha said. "You go? You're walking into trouble." Marcus nodded, his mind spinning. He'd trusted Derek, shared plans, numbers. Now Hale knew their every move. The purchase was at risk, their funds exposed. He wanted to scream, but he kept his voice steady. "We cut Derek out," he said. "And I'm going to that meeting." Aisha protested, but Marcus was firm. He needed to see Hale's game firsthand. The next night, Marcus drove to the warehouse, a crumbling relic in Atlanta's industrial sprawl. His gun, a licensed 9mm, was tucked in his jacket, a precaution Tanya had begged him to take. The lot was dark, streetlights busted, gravel crunching under his shoes. He scanned for cameras, seeing none. A text from Aisha buzzed, "Be careful." He stepped inside, the air thick with dust and oil. A single bulb flickered, casting shadows. "Hello?" he called, his voice echoing. Footsteps answered, heavy and fast. 5 men emerged, faces masked, bats and pipes in hand. Marcus's heart pounded. Hale's goons, sent to end him. He turned to run, but a pipe swung, clipping his knee. Pain exploded, dropping him to the concrete. Fists rained down, boots slamming his ribs, his back. A bat grazed his skull, blood pooling in his mouth. Slurs hissed, sharp and vile. "Nigger, troublemaker, stay down." Marcus curled, protecting his head, his gun pinned beneath him. The men laughed, one carving a slur into his car's hood with a knife, the screech like a scream. Headlights flashed outside and they scattered, tires squealing. Marcus lay gasping, the world spinning. His phone vibrated, a voicemail from an unknown number. He played it, Evelyn's voice clear. "Should've. Quit while you were ahead, Tate. Hale says hi." He staggered to his feet, blood dripping, ribs screaming. His car was a wreck, the slur gouged deep, windows smashed. He limped to a gas station, its clerk calling an ambulance. In the ER, doctors stitched his scalp, taped his ribs, his body a map of bruises. Tanya arrived, tears in her eyes, gripping his hand. "You can't keep doing this," she said. He nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. Evelyn's voice, Hale's goons. They'd meant to kill him. The collective was compromised. Derek's betrayal a wound as raw as his injuries. The purchase hung by a thread, Hale's shadow everywhere. He checked his phone, a text from Carla. Found Derek's emails to Hale. "They know our investors." Marcus's jaw tightened. Hale wasn't just attacking him. He was dismantling the collective. Piece by piece. The warehouse was a warning, the next blow would be worse. He thought of Regina, her 20 million now at risk. The hotel, his dream of justice, felt farther than ever. Evelyn's voicemail played in his head, her laugh a spur. To his rage, he'd been so close, the collective, his strength, only to be betrayed again. But he wasn't done. In the hospital bed, his vision blurry, Marcus texted Aisha, "Tighten security, we keep going." He'd rebuild the collective, plug the leaks, protect the funds. Hale thought pain would break him, thought Evelyn's taunt would seal his defeat. They were wrong. His body was battered, but his will was iron. The purchase was still alive, and he'd fight for it, no matter the blood. But what was Hale's next move? And could Marcus survive another betrayal? Marcus Tate's hospital room smelled of antiseptic, the beep of monitors a grim rhythm. His ribs ached from the warehouse beating, his scalp tight with stitches, but the pain in his chest was deeper. Richard Hale's goons had nearly killed. Him, Evelyn Warwick's voicemail, a taunt that echoed in his skull. The Crown Collective, his alliance to buy the Sapphire Crown Hotel, was crumbling, betrayed by Derek's leaks. Tate Tech's stock was a corpse, barely $8 a share, and Hale's threats now targeted his sister Tanya's family, yet Marcus's resolve burned. a fire stoked by rage. The hotel purchase was his last shot at justice, and he'd sell his soul to make it happen. Could he outsmart Hale's empire, or was this gamble his final fall? Discharged at dawn, Marcus limped to his apartment, Atlanta's skyline a jagged reminder of his war. His body screamed, but his mind was sharp, replaying Aisha's warning about Hale's knowledge of their investors. The collective had $60 million pledged, enough for a controlling stake in the hotel, but Derek's betrayal had exposed their budget. Marcus called Regina Holt, the venture capitalist who'd promised $20 million. Her voice was warm but cautious. "We're still in," she said, "but my partners are spooked." "Hale's name carries weight," Marcus assured her, his tone steady despite the fear gnawing his gut. "We're close, Regina. Trust me." She agreed to push her partners, and he hung up, hope flickering. Could he keep her on board? He gathered the collective's core at a safe house, a nondescript duplex in Decatur. Aisha had swept it for bugs, her paranoia now law. The group was smaller, trust fractured after Derek's treachery. Marcus laid out the plan. Liquidate personal assets, max out credit lines and secure a bank loan to cover the gap. He'd sell his penthouse, his car, even his Tate Tech shares, worthless as they were. The group nodded, faces grim but determined. Aisha pledged her savings, $10,000, a fortune for her. Others followed, offering retirement funds, second mortgages. Marcus's chest tightened, their faith a weight he couldn't fail. The hotel's price was $90 million, but with Regina's 20 and their 60, a leveraged buyout was possible. Was this their moment to strike? Marcus met with First Atlanta Bank, a glass tower looming over downtown. The loan officer, a wiry man named Clifton, reviewed their proposal, his eyes flicking over Marcus's bruises. "Your credit's strong," he said, "but this is high risk. The Sapphire Crown's value is shaky with all the bad press." Marcus pushed, detailing the collective's funds, Regina's pledge, his own assets. Clifton nodded, promising a decision in 48 hours. Marcus left, the city's heat pressing against his wounds. He pictured owning the hotel, firing Evelyn, dismantling Hale's racist machine. The dream felt tangible, a beacon through the pain. He called Aisha, his voice light. "We're almost there," he said. She laughed, a rare sound. "Keep the faith, Marcus." The bank called the next day, approving a $10 million loan. Marcus punched, the air ignoring his ribs' protest. He met the collective at the safe house, their cheers a balm. Regina confirmed her $20 million, her partners swayed by the bank's vote. Aisha's team finalized the offer, a $65 million bid for 51% of the hotel. Marcus signed the papers, his hand steady, the deed a heartbeat away. They submitted the bid to the hotel's board, a formality as Hale's. Mismanagement had left them desperate for cash. Marcus stood outside the duplex, the sunset painting Atlanta in fire. He felt invincible, like he'd finally outrun Hale's shadow. Was this the victory he'd bled for? Then his phone buzzed. A text from Clifton. "Urgent. Call me." Marcus's stomach twisted. He dialed, Clifton's voice tight. "Your accounts are frozen, Mr. Tate. Fraud investigation. We can't release the loan." Marcus's breath caught. "What fraud?" he demanded. Clifton stammered, citing an anonymous tip, evidence of irregular transactions. The collective's funds tied to Marcus's accounts were locked too. Marcus hung up, his vision blurring. Hale, the man who'd bought judges, hacked servers, and sent thugs, had struck again, his reach a vice. Marcus called Regina, but her line went to voicemail. A text followed. "Partners pulling out." Hale's team called them. "Sorry, Marcus." The safe house was a tomb when he arrived, the collective's faces ashen. Aisha held up her phone, a news alert screaming, "Tate Tech CEO faces fraud probe." The article, sourced to Hale's PR firm, claimed Marcus had funneled company funds into personal ventures, triggering the bank's freeze. Social media reignited. Reich's Marcus fraud trending, memes mocking his greed. Marcus's chest burned, rage and shame colliding. The hotel deal was dead, the collective's $60 million trapped in limbo. He pictured their sacrifices, Aisha's savings, others' mortgages, wasted because of him. His phone lit up, a tweet. From Evelyn. Bankruptcy looks good on you, Tate. A laughing emoji stabbed like a knife. Marcus sank into a chair, the room spinning. Hale hadn't just blocked the loan. He'd poisoned the collective's trust. Members whispered, some eyeing him with doubt. Aisha silenced them, her voice fierce. "We're not done," she said. But Marcus felt the fracture. He'd led them into a trap, thinking the bank was safe. Hale's tip to the bank was a masterstroke, vague enough to paralyze, specific enough to ruin. Marcus's penthouse, already on. The market wouldn't sell in time. His shares were worthless, his credit shot. The hotel, his dream of justice, slipped through his fingers like sand. Tanya's call came at midnight, her voice a scream. "Marcus, they fired me. My boss said Hale's people called, said I'm trouble." Marcus gripped the phone, picturing her kids, their tiny apartment. Guilt crushed him, heavier than his bruises. Hale wasn't just coming for him, he was dismantling his family piece by piece. Tanya's job, her lifeline, was gone because of his fight. He told her to stay strong, his voice hollow. He hung up, staring at the safe house's bare walls. Evelyn's tweet burned in his mind, her glee a spur to his rage. Hale thought this would break him, thought the collective would scatter. They were wrong. He stood, addressing the group, his voice raw. "We've got one shot left," he said. "Hale's shell company, the offshore accounts. If we can't buy the hotel, we expose him." Aisha nodded, pulling up Carla's files. The data was thin IP traces and bank codes, but it was something. Marcus texted Jamal, "Dig into Hale's accounts, find me proof." He called Simone, the Chronicle reporter, leaving another voicemail. "Hale's dirty, help me prove it." The bank's freeze was a death blow, but Marcus wasn't dead. He'd find another way, even if it meant selling his last shirt. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop now, or Tanya's kids pay." Marcus's blood ran cold. Hale's threats were escalating, no longer veiled. He pictured his nephews, their laughter at Christmas, now at risk because of him. The collective watched silent as he pocketed the phone. He couldn't tell them, couldn't risk their resolve. The hotel was out of reach, but Hale's empire wasn't. Marcus's body was battered, his accounts frozen, his sister jobless. But his will was iron. He'd fight no matter the cost. But what was Hale's next move, and could Marcus protect his family? Comment number 1 if you think Marcus should keep fighting despite the risks to his family, or if you believe Hale's power is too vast to challenge. Like, subscribe, and stay locked in, because tomorrow's episode will hit you like a freight train. Will Marcus find a new way to strike Hale, or is his dream of owning the Sapphire Crown gone for good? Marcus Tate's hospital room smelled of antiseptic, the beep of monitors a grim rhythm. His ribs ached from the warehouse beating, his scalp tight with stitches, but the pain in his chest was deeper. Richard Hale's goons had nearly killed him. Evelyn Warwick's voicemail a taunt that echoed in his skull. The Crown Collective, his alliance to buy the Sapphire Crown Hotel, was crumbling, betrayed by Derek's leaks. Tate Tech's stock was a corpse, barely $8 a share, and Hale's threats now targeted his sister Tanya's family. Yet Marcus's resolve burned, a fire stoked by rage. The hotel purchase was his last shot at justice, and he'd sell his soul to make it happen. Could he outsmart Hale's empire, or was this gamble his final fall? Discharged at dawn, Marcus limped to his apartment, Atlanta's skyline a jagged reminder of his war. His body screamed, but his mind was sharp, replaying Aisha's warning about Hale's knowledge of their investors. The collective had $60 million pledged, enough for a controlling stake in the hotel, but Derek's betrayal had exposed their budget. Marcus called Regina Holt, the venture capitalist who'd promised $20 million. Her voice was warm but cautious. "We're still in," she said, "but my partners are spooked." "Hale's name carries weight," Marcus assured her, his tone steady despite the fear gnawing his gut. "We're close, Regina. Trust me." She agreed to push her partners, and he hung up, hope flickering. Could he keep her on board? He gathered the collective's core at a safe house, a nondescript duplex in Decatur. Aisha had swept it for bugs, her paranoia now law. The group was smaller, trust fractured after Derek's treachery. Marcus laid out the plan: liquidate personal assets, max out credit lines, and secure a bank loan to cover the gap. He'd sell his penthouse, his car, even his Tate Tech shares, worthless as they were. The group nodded, faces grim but determined. Aisha pledged her savings $10,000, a fortune for her. Others followed, offering retirement funds, second mortgages. Marcus's chest tightened, their faith a weight he couldn't fail. The hotel's price was $90 million, but with Regina's 20 and their 60, a leveraged buyout was possible. Was this their moment to strike? Marcus met with First Atlanta Bank, a glass tower looming over downtown. The loan officer, a wiry man named Clifton, reviewed their proposal, his eyes flicking over Marcus's bruises. "Your credit's strong," he said, "but this is high risk. The Sapphire Crown's value is shaky with all the bad press." Marcus pushed, detailing the collective's funds, Regina's pledge, his own assets. Clifton nodded, promising a decision in 48 hours. Marcus left, the city's heat pressing against his wounds. He pictured owning the hotel, firing Evelyn, dismantling Hale's racist machine. The dream felt tangible, a beacon through the pain. He called Aisha, his voice light. "We're almost there," he said. She laughed, a rare sound. "Keep the faith, Marcus." The bank called the next day, approving a $10 million loan. Marcus punched, the air ignoring his ribs' protest. He met the collective at the safe house, their cheers a balm. Regina confirmed her $20 million, her partners swayed by the bank's vote. Aisha's team finalized the offer, a $65 million bid for 51% of the hotel. Marcus signed the papers, his hand steady, the deed a heartbeat away. They submitted the bid to the hotel's board, a formality, as Hale's mismanagement had left them desperate for cash. Marcus stood outside the duplex, the sunset painting Atlanta in fire. He felt invincible, like he'd finally outrun Hale's shadow. Was this the victory he'd bled for? Then his phone buzzed. A text from Clifton. Urgent. "Call me." Marcus's stomach twisted. He dialed, Clifton's voice tight. "Your accounts are frozen, Mr. Tate. Fraud investigation. We can't release the loan." Marcus's breath caught. "What fraud?" he demanded. Clifton stammered, citing an anonymous tip, evidence of irregular transactions. The collective's funds tied to Marcus's accounts were locked too. Marcus hung up, his vision blurring. Hale, the man who'd bought judges, hacked servers, and sent thugs, had struck again, his reach a vice. Marcus called Regina, but her line went to voicemail. A text followed. Partners pulling out. Hale's team called them. "Sorry, Marcus." The safe house was a tomb when he arrived, the collective's faces ashen. Aisha held up her phone, a news alert screaming, "Tate Tech CEO faces fraud probe." The article, sourced to Hale's PR firm, claimed Marcus had funneled company funds into personal ventures, triggering the bank's freeze. Social media reignited, Marcus fraud trending, memes mocking his greed. Marcus's chest burned, rage and shame colliding. The hotel deal was dead, the collective's $60 million trapped in limbo. He pictured their sacrifices, Aisha's savings, others' mortgages, wasted because of him. His phone lit up, a tweet from Evelyn. "Bankruptcy looks good on you, Tate," a laughing emoji stabbed like a knife. Marcus sank into a chair, the room spinning. Hale hadn't just blocked the loan, he'd poisoned the collective's trust. Members whispered, some eyeing him with doubt. Aisha silenced them, her voice fierce. "We're not done," she said. But Marcus felt the fracture. He'd led them into a trap, thinking the bank was safe. Hale's tip to the bank was a masterstroke, vague enough to paralyze, specific enough to ruin. Marcus's penthouse, already on. The market wouldn't sell in time. His shares were worthless, his credit shot. The hotel, his dream of justice, slipped through his fingers like sand. Tanya's call came at midnight, her voice a scream. "Marcus, they fired me. My boss said Hale's people called, said I'm trouble." Marcus gripped the phone, picturing her kids, their tiny apartment. Guilt crushed him, heavier than his bruises. Hale wasn't just coming for him. He was dismantling his family piece by piece. Tanya's job, her lifeline, was gone because of his fight. He told her to stay strong, his voice hollow. He hung up, staring at the safe house's bare walls. Evelyn's tweet, burned in his mind, her glee a spur to his rage. Hale thought this would break him, thought the collective would scatter. They were wrong. He stood, addressing the group, his voice raw. "We've got one shot left," he said. "Hale's shell company, the offshore accounts. If we can't buy the hotel, we expose him." Aisha nodded, pulling up Carla's files. The data was thin IP traces and bank codes, but it was something. Marcus texted Jamal, "Dig into Hale's accounts, find me proof." He called Simone, the Chronicle reporter, leaving another voicemail. "Hale's dirty, help me prove it." The bank's freeze was a death blow, but Marcus wasn't dead. He'd find another way, even if it meant selling his last shirt. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop now or Tanya's kids pay." Marcus's blood ran cold. Hale's threats were escalating, no longer veiled. He pictured his nephews, their laughter at Christmas, now at risk because of him. The collective watched, silent, as he pocketed the phone. He couldn't tell them, couldn't risk their resolve. The hotel was out of reach, but Hale's empire wasn't. Marcus's body was battered, his accounts frozen, his sister jobless. But his will was iron. He'd fight no matter the cost. But what was Hale's next move, and could Marcus protect his family? Comment number 1 if you think Marcus should keep fighting despite the risks to his family, or if you believe Hale's power is too vast to challenge. Will Marcus find a new way to strike Hale, or is his dream of owning the Sapphire Crown gone for good? Marcus Tate's hospital room smelled of antiseptic, the beep of monitors a grim rhythm. His ribs ached from the warehouse beating, his scalp tight with stitches, but the pain in his chest was deeper. Richard Hale's goons had nearly killed him. Evelyn Warwick's voicemail a taunt that echoed in his skull. The Crown Collective, his alliance to buy the Sapphire Crown Hotel, was crumbling, betrayed by Derek's leaks. Tate Tech's stock was a corpse, barely $8 a share, and Hale's threats now targeted his sister Tanya's family. Yet Marcus's resolve burned, a fire stoked by rage. The hotel purchase was his last shot at justice, and he'd sell his soul to make it happen. Could he outsmart Hale's empire, or was this gamble his final fall? Discharged at dawn, Marcus limped to his apartment, Atlanta's skyline a jagged reminder of his war. His body screamed, but his mind was sharp, replaying Aisha's warning about Hale's knowledge of their investors. The collective had $60 million pledged, enough for a controlling stake in the hotel. But Derek's betrayal had exposed their budget. Marcus called Regina Holt, the venture capitalist who'd promised $20 million. Her voice was warm but cautious. "We're still in," she said, "but my partners are spooked." "Hale's name carries weight," Marcus assured her, his tone steady despite the fear gnawing his gut. "We're close, Regina. Trust me." She agreed to push her partners, and he hung up, hope flickering. Could he keep her on board? He gathered the collective's core at a safe house, a nondescript duplex in Decatur. Aisha had swept it for bugs, her paranoia now law. The group was smaller, trust fractured after Derek's treachery. Marcus laid out the plan: liquidate personal assets, max out credit lines, and secure a bank loan to cover the gap. He'd sell his penthouse, his car, even his Tate Tech shares, worthless as they were. The group nodded, faces grim but determined. Aisha pledged her savings, $10,000, a fortune for her. Others followed, offering retirement funds, second mortgages. Marcus's chest tightened, their faith a weight he couldn't fail. The hotel's price was $90 million, but with Regina's 20 and their 60, a leveraged buyout was possible. Was this their moment to strike? Marcus met with First Atlanta Bank, a glass tower looming over downtown. The loan officer, a wiry man named Clifton, reviewed their proposal, his eyes flicking over Marcus's bruises. "Your credit's strong," he said, "but this is high risk. The Sapphire Crown's value is shaky with all the bad press." Marcus pushed, detailing the collective's funds, Regina's pledge, his own assets. Clifton nodded, promising a decision in 48 hours. Marcus left, the city's heat pressing against his wounds. He pictured owning the hotel, firing Evelyn, dismantling Hale's racist machine. The dream felt tangible, a beacon through the pain. He called Aisha, his voice light. "We're almost there," he said. She laughed, a rare sound. "Keep the faith, Marcus." The bank called the next day, approving a $10 million loan. Marcus punched, the air ignoring his ribs' protest. He met the collective at the safe house, their cheers a balm. Regina confirmed her $20 million, her partners swayed by the bank's vote. Aisha's team finalized the offer, a $65 million bid for 51% of the hotel. Marcus signed the papers, his hand steady, the deed a heartbeat away. They submitted the bid to the hotel's board, a formality, as Hales. Mismanagement had left them desperate for cash. Marcus stood outside the duplex, the sunset painting Atlanta in fire. He felt invincible, like he'd finally outrun Hale's shadow. Was this the victory he'd bled for? Then his phone buzzed. A text from Clifton, urgent. "Call me." Marcus's stomach twisted. He dialed, Clifton's voice tight. "Your accounts are frozen, Mr. Tate. Fraud investigation. We can't release the loan." Marcus's breath caught. "What fraud?" he demanded. Clifton stammered, citing an anonymous tip, evidence of irregular transactions. The collective's funds tied to Marcus's accounts were locked too. Marcus hung up, his vision blurring. Hale, the man who'd bought judges, hacked servers, and sent thugs, had struck again, his reach a vice. Marcus called Regina, but her line went to voicemail. A text followed. Partners pulling out. Hale's team called them. "Sorry, Marcus. The safe house was a tomb when he arrived." The collective's faces ashen. Aisha held up her phone, a news alert screaming, "Tate Tech CEO faces fraud probe." The article, sourced to Hale's PR firm, claimed Marcus had funneled company funds into personal ventures, triggering the bank's freeze. Social media reignited Twice Marcus fraud trending, memes mocking his greed. Marcus's chest burned, rage and shame colliding. The hotel deal was dead. The collective's $60 million trapped in limbo. He pictured their sacrifices, Aisha's savings, others' mortgages, wasted because of him. His phone lit up. A tweet. From Evelyn. "Bankruptcy looks good on you, Tate." A laughing emoji stabbed like a knife. Marcus sank into a chair, the room spinning. Hale hadn't just blocked the loan. He'd poisoned the collective's trust. Members whispered, some eyeing him with doubt. Aisha silenced them, her voice fierce. "We're not done," she said. But Marcus felt the fracture. He'd led them into a trap, thinking the bank was safe. Hale's tip to the bank was a masterstroke, vague enough to paralyze, specific enough to ruin. Marcus's penthouse, already on. The market wouldn't sell in time. His shares were worthless, his credit shot. The hotel, his dream of justice, slipped through his fingers like sand. Tanya's call came at midnight, her voice a scream. "Marcus, they fired me. My boss said Hale's people called, said I'm trouble." Marcus gripped the phone, picturing her kids, their tiny apartment. Guilt crushed him, heavier than his bruises. Hale wasn't just coming for him. He was dismantling his family piece by piece. Tanya's job, her lifeline, was gone because of his fight. He told her to stay strong, his voice hollow. He hung up, staring at the safe house's bare walls. Evelyn's tweet burned in his mind, her glee a spur to his rage. Hale thought this would break him, thought the collective would scatter. They were wrong. He stood, addressing the group, his voice raw. "We've got one shot left," he said. "Hale's shell company, the offshore accounts. If we can't buy the hotel, we expose him." Aisha nodded, pulling up Carla's files. The data was thin IP traces and bank codes, but it was something. Marcus texted Jamal, "Dig into Hale's accounts, find me proof." He called Simone, the Chronicle reporter, leaving another voicemail. "Hale's dirty, help me prove it." The bank's freeze was a death blow, but Marcus wasn't dead. He'd find another way, even if it meant selling his last shirt. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop now or Tanya's kids pay." Marcus's blood ran cold. Hale's threats were escalating, no longer veiled. He pictured his nephews, their laughter at Christmas, now at risk because of him. The collective watched, silent, as he pocketed the phone. He couldn't tell them, couldn't risk their resolve. The hotel was out of reach, but Hale's empire wasn't. Marcus's body was battered, his accounts frozen, his sister jobless, but his will was iron. He'd fight no matter the cost. But what was Hale's next move, and could Marcus protect his family? Comment number 1 if you think Marcus should keep fighting despite the risks to his family, or if you believe Hale's power is too vast to challenge. Like, subscribe, and stay locked in, because tomorrow's episode will hit you like a freight train. Will Marcus find a new way to strike Hale, or is his dream of owning the Sapphire Crown gone for good? Marcus Tate's cell smelled of sweat and rust, the concrete walls a cage for his rage. Atlanta's jail was a labyrinth of shouts and clanging bars, each sound a reminder of Richard Hale's victory. The riot Hale orchestrated had landed Marcus, here charged with inciting chaos, his mugshot a viral trophy. Evelyn Warwick's latest video, gloating over his arrest, burned in his mind, her smirk tying back to that night in the Sapphire Crown's lobby. Tate Tech was dead, its stock at $2, the Crown Collective scattered. The memos, his last weapon against Hale's racist empire, were with Aisha, but his bail, $50,000, was a wall he couldn't climb. Could he fight from this hole, or was Hale's blade already at his throat? The cell block was a gauntlet. Guards, their badges glinting, singled Marcus out, their eyes cold with contempt. The first night they forgot his dinner, leaving him with a growling stomach. By day 2 they escalated, shoving him during lineups, their boots clipping his heels. One, a burly man named Kessler, hissed a slur as he passed. "Troublemaker don't last here." Marcus kept his head down, his stitches pulling with every move, but rage simmered. He wasn't just a prisoner, he was a target, Hale's influence seeping through the bars. Tanya's trashed apartment, Renee's raided home, the warehouse beating they were warnings, and this was punishment. Could he survive Hale's reach inside these walls? He found allies in the cell block, men worn by the system, but unbroken. Malik, a lanky mechanic jailed for a traffic violation, shared his bread, his eyes sharp with recognition. "You're that hotel guy," he said. "They're scared of you." Marcus nodded, wary but grateful. Malik introduced him to others. Devon, a teacher framed for theft. Rico, a barber caught in a drug sting. Their stories mirrored his systemic racism, a thread binding them. Marcus listened, their anger fueling his own. He organized them quietly, whispering in the yard. "We don't bend," he said. "We resist." They nodded, fists bumping in the dark. Was this his new collective, a spark in the shadows? The guards noticed, their cruelty sharpening. Kessler and his crew cut Marcus's water, leaving his throat raw. During a shower they slipped, slamming him against the tiles, his ribs, screaming. Blood trickled from his lip, but he stood, staring Kessler down. "You're tough, huh?" Kessler sneered, cracking his knuckles. Marcus said nothing, his silence a blade. He knew Hale's orders were behind it, Evelyn's videos egging them on. Her last post, calling him a caged fraud, had racked up 4 million views, the comments a sewer of hate. He couldn't see them, but Malik relayed the news, his voice low. "She's loving this man." Marcus's jaw tightened. Evelyn's glee was Hale's weapon, but he'd turn it against them. Could he find a way to strike back? He needed to get word out, expose the jail's abuses. Malik smuggled a pencil stub, and Marcus scrawled a letter on torn paper, detailing the guards' racism, the beatings, the starvation. He named Kessler, tying it to Hale's influence. Malik passed it to a trustee, a wiry kid named Ty, who promised to slip it to a visitor. Days crawled, Marcus's hope thinning. The guards doubled down, locking him in solitary for disobedience. The box was a coffin, 6 feet by 8, the air thick with mildew. He paced, counting cracks, Evelyn's smirk haunting him. His letter was a long shot, but it was all he had. Would it reach the outside, or was Ty another Derek ready to betray? Then came miracle. Ty slipped a note under his door, letters out, went viral. Marcus's heart leaped. The letter, posted anonymously on Twitter, exploded, and Free Marcus trending alongside clips of his mugshot. Protesters gathered outside the jail, their chants faint through the walls. No justice, no peace. News outlets picked it up, CNN running. A segment on jailhouse abuses. The governor, under pressure, ordered a review. Marcus was pulled from solitary, Kessler glaring as he unlocked the door. "You got lucky," he muttered. Marcus said nothing, his eyes steel. The letter had worked. forcing his release. Bail was waived, charges pending but weakened. Was this his escape? A chance to fight again? He walked free at dawn, Atlanta's air sharp with promise. Aisha met him, her hug fierce, the memos safe in her bag. Simone had kept the story alive, her chronicle piece gaining traction despite Hale's spin. Marcus raised a fist to the crowd, their cheers a pulse. He felt reborn, the jail's scars a badge. Tanya called, her voice tearful. "You're out," she said. "Keep going." He promised he would, his resolve iron. The collective was battered, but alive, the memos still a weapon. He pictured Hale's face, Evelyn's smirk, and vowed to burn their empire down. Could he rebuild his fight from the ashes? Then pain ripped through his side, a white-hot stab. He stumbled, blood soaking his shirt. A figure darted past, hooded, a knife glinting. Marcus fell, the crowd screaming, Aisha's voice distant. He clutched his side, vision blurring, the jail's gate looming. The attacker was gone, but Marcus knew. Hale. The man who'd rigged riots and bought judges had hired a killer, an inmate or a guard, to end him before he left. Blood pooled, warm and sticky, his breath shallow. Aisha pressed her jacket to the wound, shouting for help. Paramedics swarmed, their voices a haze. Marcus's eyes fluttered, Evelyn's voicemail echoing. "Should have quit while you were ahead." He woke in a hospital, tubes snaking from his arm, pain a dull roar. Tanya sat beside him, her face streaked with tears. "You're alive," she whispered. "Barely," the doctor said. The knife had missed his liver by an inch, 6 stitches holding him together. Aisha arrived, her eyes red. "Cops called it a random mugging," she said. "Bullshit." Marcus nodded, his voice a rasp. "Hale." She showed him her phone, a new video from Evelyn, posted hours after the stabbing. She stood in the Sapphire Crown's lobby, her tone mock-sad. "Thoughts and prayers for Marcus Tate," she said, her eyes gleaming. "Hope he learns his lesson." The video hit 5 million views, comments a torrent of hate. He deserved it. Stay down. Marcus's chest burned, rage drowning the pain. Evelyn's visit wasn't coincidence. She'd known about the hit, maybe even planned it. Hale's message was clear. No escape, no mercy. The jail had been a cage, but freedom was a battlefield, and Marcus was bleeding. Aisha handed him the memos, still safe, but their power felt distant, drowned by Hale's spin. Simone's story was fading, the riot's shadow lingering. The collective was a ghost, its members hiding, Regina's millions gone. Marcus thought of Malik, Devon, Rico, their faces in the cell block. They'd fought with him and he'd fight for them. But how, with death so close? He gripped Tanya's hand, his voice steady. "Tell Aisha to guard the memos," he said. "Get Jamal on Hale's hackers." Tanya nodded, her eyes fierce. The hospital's hum was a lifeline, but Hale's next move loomed. The stabbing was a warning. The next would be fatal. Evelyn's video, her hint, Hale says hi, was a taunt, tying her to the knife. Marcus's body was a map of scars, his company gone, his family hunted. But his will was unbreakable. Hale thought blood would stop him, thought Evelyn's glee would seal his fate. They were wrong. He'd rise, memos or not, and make them pay. But what was Hale planning next? And could Marcus survive another strike? Marcus Tate lay in the hospital bed, the stab wound in his side a throbbing reminder of Richard Hale's reach. Atlanta's skyline glowed beyond the window, but his world was a battlefield. Evelyn Warwick's latest video, mocking his lesson after the prison stabbing, was a splinter in his mind, tying back to her slur in the Sapphire Crown's lobby. Tate Tech was gone, its stock at $1, the Crown Collective shattered. The memos, his last weapon against Hale's racist empire, were with Aisha, but his freedom was fragile, Hale's threats now a knife's edge. Marcus needed the hotel. Fair final stand to fire Evelyn and break Hale. Could he pull off the impossible, or was Hale's next blow already falling? The hospital's hum was a lifeline, but Marcus's mind raced. The collective's $60 million bid was dead, frozen by Hale's bank fraud trap. Regina's $20 million had vanished, spooked by the riot. But Marcus had one card left, a loan, off the books, from a source Jamal had found in Tate-Tex. Final days. A shadowy lender known only as Viper offered high-risk cash, no questions asked. Marcus texted Jamal from a burner phone, his stitches pulling. "Contact Viper. Get me 10 million. Jamal replied, "Risky, boss. These guys don't play." Marcus typed back, "Neither do I." The hotel was his endgame, and he'd risk everything to own it. Was this his last shot? Discharged at dawn, Marcus moved to a safe house, a dingy apartment in East Atlanta. His body ached. The knife wound a constant burn, but his resolve was iron. Aisha met him, the memos hidden in a locked box. She'd kept the collective's core intact, 5 members still loyal. "We're with you," she said, "but we're broke." Marcus nodded, outlining the plan. Viper's loan, combined with his last assets, his car sold for $50,000 and a watch pawned for $10,000 could scrape together enough for a new bid. The Sapphire Crown's value had crashed to $70 million, Hale's scandals eroding its worth. A leveraged buyout with Viper's cash was possible. Could they move fast enough? Marcus called Viper, a voice like gravel answering through a encrypted line. 10 million, the man said. "Repay in 90 days or you're mine, interests 20%. Marcus swallowed, picturing the debt's weight. He agreed, the terms a noose, but the hotel was worth it. Viper wired the funds to a shell account, untraceable. Marcus rallied the collective, their faces grim but determined. Aisha pawned her mother's ring, adding $5,000. Others scraped together small sums, their faith in Marcus a lifeline. He met a new broker, a sharp woman named Lila, who'd dealt with distressed properties. She eyed his bruises, saying, "This hotel's a war zone. You sure?" Marcus nodded. "Get me the deal." Lila worked magic, negotiating with the hotel's board, desperate to unload the property. Marcus's new bid, 10 million cash plus a leveraged 60 million from Viper's loan and collective funds, was enough for a 51% stake. He signed the papers at midnight, his hand steady despite the pain. The board accepted, Hale's influence weakened by the boycott's toll. Marcus held the deed, a single sheet that felt like a mountain. He pictured storming the Sapphire Crown, firing Evelyn, tearing down Hale's racist legacy. The collective cheered, their voices a spark in the dark. Was this his triumph, the justice he'd bled for? Then his phone buzzed, a call from Lila. "Problem," she said, her voice tight. "City Council just rezoned the hotel's land. It's now industrial, values tanking." Marcus's heart sank. The rezoning slashed the Sapphire Crown's worth to 40 million, making his loan a death sentence. Viper's repayment, now 12 million with interest, was due in 90 days, on a property bleeding value. He called Aisha, who'd seen the news. "Hale's fingerprints are all over this." Marcus cursed, his mind racing. Hale had bribed the council, a final twist to gut the deal. The hotel was his, but it was a poisoned prize, a financial trap. Had Hale planned this all along? Viper called, his voice cold. "Heard about the rezoning," he said. "You still owe me, Tate. Pay or I take more than money." Marcus hung up, sweat beading on his brow. The collective's funds were tied to the deal, their savings gone. Aisha's ring, their mortgages, all for a hotel now worthless. Guilt crushed him, heavier than his scars. He checked his phone. A new video from Evelyn, now assistant manager, posted from the Sapphire Crown's lobby. "Congratulations on your little purchase," she said, her smile venomous. "Hope it was worth it." The video hit 6 million views. Comments, a torrent of hate. "Idiot, loser, should have stayed down." Marcus's rage flared. Evelyn's promotion a slap, her video tying back to Hale's memos. He needed to act, but Viper's threat loomed, a clock ticking. Then Tanya's number flashed, her scream piercing. "Marcus, they hit me." He sped to her motel, heart pounding, Atlanta's streets a blur. Her car was a wreck, rammed off the road. Its hood crumpled. Tanya lay in a hospital bed, her leg in a cast, her face bruised. "They came out of nowhere," she said, tears falling. "2 men, masks, said it was for you." Marcus gripped her hand, his stitches burning. Hale's goons, sent to punish his win. The cops, as always, shrugged. Hit and run, no leads. Tanya's kids sat in the corner, silent, their eyes haunted. Marcus's guilt was a tidal wave, drowning his rage. His fight had broken her body, her home, her life. He gave her his last cash, $200, promising to fix it. She grabbed his arm, her voice fierce. "End this, Marcus. For us." He nodded, but doubt gnawed. The hotel was his, but at what cost? Viper's loan was a chain, the rezoning a trap, Tanya's pain a wound deeper than his own. Evelyn's video played in his mind, her glee a spur. Hale thought this would break him, thought the collective would collapse. They were wrong. He drove to the safe house, Aisha waiting with the memos. "We've got one play," he said. "Use the hotel. Expose Hale from inside." Aisha nodded, pulling up Jamal's latest hack. A trace on Hale's offshore accounts, faint but real. Marcus texted Simone, "Hotel's mine. Run the memos now." He called Denise, updating her on the rezoning, the loan. She promised to fight Viper's terms, but her voice was strained. "Hale's got the council," she said. "Maybe more." Marcus hung, Harp staring at the deed. It was his, but it was a battlefield, Hale's shadow everywhere. Evelyn's promotion, her video. They were Hale's taunts, daring him to act. He stood, addressing Aisha. "We move tomorrow," he said. "I'm going in, firing Evelyn myself." Aisha's eyes widened, but she nodded, her resolve mirroring his. The hotel was a husk, its value gutted, but it was his ground to fight on. Viper's loan was a death sentence, Tanya's crash a warning, the rezoning a checkmate. But Marcus wasn't done. He'd walk into the Sapphire Crown, deed in hand, and make Evelyn pay, memos or not. Hale thought pain would stop him, thought Evelyn's smirk would bury him. They were wrong. He'd fight, even as the noose tightened. But what was Hale's next move? And could Marcus save Tanya's family? Marcus Tate's hands gripped the Sapphire Crown Hotel's deed, its ink a lifeline in a world of blood and betrayal. Atlanta's midday sun baked the city, but his heart was ice. Richard Hale had stabbed him, crashed his sister Tanya's car, and rezoned the hotel into a financial trap. Evelyn Warwick's latest video, mocking his purchase, was a taunt that echoed her slur from the lobby where this war began. The Crown Collective was a ghost, Tate Tech's stock at zero, the Vipers, loan a ticking bomb. The memos, his last weapon, were with Aisha, but today was about one act, firing Evelyn face to face in the hotel he now owned. Could Marcus claim this victory, or was Hale's final trap already sprung? He dressed in a black suit, the knife, wound in his side a dull ache, his ribs bruised from jailhouse beatings. The deed was in his briefcase alongside his gun, a weight he couldn't ignore. Aisha had begged him to wait, to use the memos first, but Marcus was done waiting. Evelyn's smirk, her videos, her promotion. They were Hale's banner, and he'd tear it down. He texted Jamal, "Keep digging on Hale's accounts." Simone, "Push the memos today." He drove to the Sapphire Crown, its marble facade a fortress he'd conquered, even if it was a poisoned prize. The rezoning had slashed its value to $40 million. Viper's $12 million repayment looming in 89 days. Was this his stand or his grave? The lobby was quiet, its chandeliers glinting, a stark contrast to the boycott's chaos. Staff froze as Marcus entered, their eyes wide. Evelyn stood behind the desk, her assistant manager badge gleaming, her lips curling into a sneer. "Mr. Tate," she said, voice dripping venom, "come to beg for a room?" Marcus set the briefcase down, pulling out the deed. "I own this place," he said, his voice steel. "You're fired." "Effective now." Evelyn laughed, sharp and cold. "Do you think a piece of paper scares me? Hale owns this city." She snapped her fingers and two security guards flanked her, their hands on batons. Marcus stood his ground, picturing her slur, her videos, her glee at his stabbing. Was this the moment he'd dreamed of? Cameras clicked, guests filming, their phones live streaming. Marcus raised the deed, his voice booming. "This hotel's mine and its racist days are over." Evelyn's face twitched, her confidence cracking. She grabbed a phone, dialing, her voice low. "He's here. Do it." Marcus's gut twisted, but he pressed on, handing her a termination letter. "Pack your things," he said. "You're done." The guards hesitated, glancing at the crowd. Evelyn screamed, her face red. "You're nothing. A fraud. A thug." The lobby echoed, guests gasping, but Marcus felt alive. Her rage a trophy. He'd won this round, the deed his sword. Could he walk away unbroken? Then the doors burst open and chaos erupted. 6 men stormed in, clad in black, faces masked, rifles gleaming. Screams filled the lobby as guests dove for cover. Marcus froze, his gun still in the briefcase, too far to reach. The leader, a hulking figure with a scar across his cheek, pointed his rifle at Marcus. "On your knees," he barked. "Now!" Marcus knelt, heart pounding, the deed slipping from his hand. Evelyn laughed, her voice a blade. "Told you, Tate, you're done." The men zip-tied his wrists, dragging him to the center of the lobby. They set up a camera, broadcasting live, the feed projected on the hotel's screens. Was this Hale's endgame? The leader spoke to the camera, his voice a growl. "Marcus Tate, fraud and liar, tried to steal this hotel. We're the patriots of purity, and we're taking it back." He named a supremacist group, their logo flashing on the screen. Marcus's blood ran cold. Hale had hired mercenaries, not just thugs, to crush him. The feed showed thousands watching, comments flooding. "Kill him, teach him a lesson." Evelyn stood beside the leader, her smile vicious. "You should have quit," she said, leaning close. "Hale's orders." Marcus's rage flared, her betrayal tying every blow, lobby, courtroom, jail, knife to this moment. Could he fight back, bound and outgunned? The leader demanded Marcus renounce the deed, sign it over, or die. A gun pressed to his temple, cold and heavy. Guests sobbed, staff cowered, the lobby a war zone. Marcus scanned the room, spotting his briefcase, the gun inside, 10 feet away. He needed time, a distraction. He spoke, his voice steady despite the fear. "Hale's a racist," he said. "His memos prove it. This hotel's mine, and I'll never give it up." The leader backhanded him, blood spraying, but the crowd stirred, some shouting support. Marcus caught Evelyn's eye, her smirk faltering. Was there a crack in her armor? A guest, a young black woman, threw a vase, shattering it near the leader. Chaos flared, guests rushing the exits, the mercenaries firing warning shots. Marcus rolled, breaking a zip tie on a jagged table edge. He lunged for the briefcase, grabbing his gun as bullets whizzed past. He fired, hitting a mercenary's leg, the man collapsing. The leader roared, tackling Marcus, the gun skidding away. Fists pounded Marcus's face, his stitches tearing, blood pooling. Evelyn screamed, "Get him!" Marcus kicked free, scrambling to his feet, but a rifle butt grazed his shoulder, pain exploding. He dove behind a counter, gasping, the lobby a battlefield. Could he survive this? Police sirens wailed outside, red and blue lights flashing through the windows. The mercenaries hesitated, their leader shouting orders. Marcus peeked, seeing Evelyn slip toward the back, her phone in hand. She'd tipped them off, he realized, her call in the lobby the trigger. He crawled, retrieving his gun, his side bleeding through the stitches. The leader grabbed a hostage, a trembling bellhop, pressing a knife to his throat. "Sign the deed, Tate, or he dies." Marcus's heart raced, the bellhop's eyes pleading. He raised his hands, feigning surrender, but aimed his gun, firing a wild shot. The bullet grazed the leader's arm, the hostage breaking free. Was this his chance to turn the tide? The mercenaries regrouped, their rifles trained on Marcus. Police breached the doors, shouting, "Drop your weapons!" The leader laughed, firing at the ceiling, chandeliers crashing. Marcus used the chaos, tackling a mercenary, wresting his rifle. He fired, downing another, but a bullet grazed his thigh, blood soaking his suit. He staggered, vision blurring, Evelyn's laugh cutting through the din. She stood by the leader, filming, her voice gleeful. "You're finished, Tate." Marcus's rage surged, her betrayal afire. He aimed at the leader, but a cop's shout stopped him. "Stand down!" The standoff froze, guns everywhere, the feed still live. Could Marcus escape? This alive? The leader grabbed Evelyn, using her as a shield, her scream piercing. Marcus hesitated, his gun steady. The police advanced, tear gas hissing, the lobby choking with smoke. Marcus coughed, his thigh burning, but he lunged, disarming a mercenary, his rifle clattering. The leader shoved Evelyn aside, firing at Marcus, the bullet clipping his ear, blood dripping. Marcus returned fire, hitting the leader's shoulder. The man collapsing. Police swarmed, cuffing the mercenaries, the feed cutting off. Marcus dropped to his knees, gasping. The deed crumpled beside him. Had he won, or was this Hale's final trap? Evelyn scrambled to her feet, her face pale, but her eyes burned with hate. "You'll never win," she spat, before cops grabbed her. Marcus stood, bloodied but alive, the lobby a wreck of glass and bodies. The police secured the scene, guests sobbing, the bellhop safe. Marcus clutched the deed, his victory hollow. Hale's mercenaries had failed, but the hotel was a ruin. Viper's loan a noose, Tanya's crash a wound. Evelyn's tip, her laugh tied her to Hale's every move lobby, memos, knife, now this. He'd fired her, but Hale's empire stood, his shadow unbroken. Could Marcus finish this fight? He limped outside, police lights blinding, the crowd chanting his name. Aisha ran to him, the memos safe, her eyes wide. "You're alive," she said, hugging him. Marcus nodded, pain drowning his relief. The deed was his, but the hotel was a battlefield, its value gutted, Hale's reach a hydra. Tanya's hospital bed, her kids' fear, weighed heavier than his wounds. He'd faced death, but Hale's next move loomed. Evelyn's role a chilling clue. His gun was empty, his body broken, but his will was steel. He'd end this, no matter the cost. But what was Hale's final play, and could Marcus survive it? Marcus Tate stood in the Sapphire Crown Hotel's shattered lobby, blood dripping from his grazed thigh, his ear stinging, his knife wound torn open. Atlanta's police lights pulsed outside, the air thick with tear gas and glass dust. Richard, Hale's hired supremacists, the patriots of purity, lay cuffed, their rifles confiscated, the live feed of their hostage crisis cut off. Evelyn Warwick, her assistant manager badge glinting, was dragged away by cops, her screams echoing her. Slur from the night this war began. Marcus clutched the crumpled deed, his victory over her firing bitter, the hotel a financial ruin. The Viper's $12 million loan loomed, Tanya's car crash haunted him, and the memos, his last weapon, were with Aisha. Could Marcus end Hale's empire, or was one final trap waiting? The crowd outside swelled, their chants justice. For Marcus a faint pulse through the chaos. Aisha pushed through, her face streaked with soot, the memos safe in a locked box. "You're alive," she said, her voice breaking. Marcus nodded, his body a map of scars, his suit soaked with blood. The police secured the lobby, medics tending to guests, the bellhop he'd saved, shaking but unharmed. Evelyn's betrayal, tipping, off the mercenaries, tied every blow lobby, courtroom, jail, knife to Hale's hand. Marcus's firing of her was a spark, but Hale's shadow loomed, his empire untouched. He needed the memos now to burn it down. Was there still time? His phone buzzed, a text from Jamal. "Got something. Hale's accounts live hack. Meet me." Marcus's heart leaped. Jamal's trace on Hale's offshore funds started weeks ago, had borne fruit. He limped to Aisha, whispering, "Get the memos to Jamal. He's at the safe house." She nodded, slipping away, the box under her arm. Marcus turned to a medic, waving, off a stretcher. "I'm fine," he lied, his thigh burning. He needed to move, to strike before Hale regrouped. The supremacists were Hale's desperate play, but his money, his power, was still intact. Marcus pictured Tanya, her leg broken, her kids' fear and rage drowned his pain. Could he finish this tonight? Police escorted him outside, the crowd roaring, their signs, "No room for racism," lit by flashlights. A detective, a black woman named Carter, pulled him aside. "We're raiding Hale's office," she said. "Your lawyer sent us the memos. Got a tip on his accounts too." Marcus's breath caught. Denise had moved fast, and Jamal's hack was the tip. Carter's eyes softened. "You stirred up hell, Tate. Stay safe." He nodded, the crowd's cheers a shield. The memos paired with Jamal's data could trigger arrests, maybe freeze Hale's empire. Evelyn's cuffing was a start, but Hale was the head. Was this the endgame he'd bled for? Then his phone lit up, a live feed from an unknown source. The supremacist stream had restarted, hijacked, showing Jamal's hack in real time. Screens across Atlanta billboards, news vans, phones flashed Hale's memos, the originals, untainted. "Keep the riffraff out," Hale's words read, followed by bank records. Millions laundered through Caribbean shells, tied to racist lobbying groups. The crowd gasped, their cheers turning to shouts. Marcus watched, stunned, as Evelyn's name appeared. Her emails ordering staff to screen black guests. The feed cut to Hale's office, police kicking indoors, his face pale as cuffs snapped on. Was this Jamal's doing, or something bigger? Marcus texted Jamal, "You?" The reply was instant. "Not just me. Collective's tech crew." We looped the memos, cracked Hale's servers. Marcus's chest swelled, the Collective's remnants striking from the shadows. Aisha arrived, breathless, confirming the memos were uploaded, their paper copies safe with Denise. The feed looped, Hale's arrest replaying, the crowd swelling, to thousands blocking Peachtree Street. News helicopters buzzed, anchors scrambling to cover the Atlanta uprising. Marcus limped to a barricade, the city alive with rage and hope. Hale was down, Evelyn fired, the hotel his. Had he won at last? The police cleared the crowd, Carter updating Marcus. Hale's charged with fraud, racketeering, and civil rights. Violations. Evelyn's facing conspiracy, maybe more. The Sapphire Crowns Board, spooked, had ceded full control to Marcus. The rezoning reversed under public pressure. He held the deed, the hotel now valued at $80 million, a bittersweet prize. Viper's loan remained, $12 million due, but the hotel's revenue could cover it if he rebuilt fast. Marcus stood outside the Sapphire Crown, its facade cracked but standing like him. Tanya called, her voice tearful. "You did it," she said. He smiled, but unease lingered. The victory felt too clean, too fast. Was there a catch? He drove to the safe house, Aisha and Jamal waiting. The Collective's tech crew, 3 coders who'd stayed loyal, grinned, laptops open. "We fried Hale's servers," one said. "He's done." Marcus hugged them, his wounds aching. The memos had worked, Jamal's. Hack the final blow. Simone's Chronicle story ran front page, federal probes launching into Hale's chain. Evelyn's career was ash, her videos deleted, her name poison. Marcus pictured her in a cell, her smirk gone, and savored it. The Collective, though battered, was alive, planning to rebrand the hotel as a community hub. Was this the justice he'd fought for? Then Jamal's face darkened, showing Marcus a file. "Viper's loan," he said. "The account's gone. No trace." Marcus frowned, his gut twisting. Viper, the shadowy lender, had vanished. No calls, no demands for the $12 million. The money was clean, untraceable, but the silence was chilling. Aisha's eyes narrowed. "Someone wanted Hale down," she said. "Maybe used you." Marcus nodded. The unease growing. The hack, the feed, Viper's loan they felt orchestrated, a hidden hand guiding his war. Hale was cuffed, Evelyn ruined, but a new shadow loomed, its shape unclear. Had he been a pawn in a larger game? He stepped outside, the night air cool, Atlanta's skyline a constellation of light. The Sapphire Crown stood behind him, his, but haunted. Tanya was safe, her kids with her, but her scars, physical and not, were his burden. The Collective would rebuild, Aisha leading, but their trust was fragile, Derek's betrayal a ghost. Marcus's body was a wreck, his company gone, his name half cleared. The memos had toppled Hale, but Viper's silence was a riddle, a threat. He climbed the hotel's steps, entering the lobby, its shattered chandeliers a mirror of his fight. He stood at the desk where Evelyn's slur had sparked this war, and felt the weight of it all. His phone buzzed, an email from an unknown sender. "Well played, Tate. We'll meet soon." No signature, but the tone was Viper's or someone worse. Marcus's heart raced, the victory souring. Hale's arrest, Evelyn's fall, the hotel's deed. They were his. But at what cost? The system, rigged from the start, hadn't changed. It had only shifted players. He pictured the lobby that night, Evelyn's whispered slur, and realized this wasn't the end. The fight was bigger, darker, a machine still grinding. He stood alone, the deed in his pocket, his gun empty, his will unbroken. Could he face what came next? He walked to the penthouse, his reserved suite from months ago, now his by right. The view was stunning, Atlanta sprawling below, but his reflection in the glass was a stranger, scarred, older, harder. Tanya's crash, the jail, the knife, the mercenaries. They were battles in a war he'd won, but not finished. The collective would heal, the hotel would rise. But Viper's shadow, the email's threat, loomed like a storm. Marcus set the deed. On the table, its edges worn, and sat, staring at the city. Hale was gone, Evelyn broken, but the system endured, and a new enemy watched. He'd fight, as always, but the cost was climbing. What was waiting in the dark? Marcus Tate's battle in Hotel. Clerk denies black CEO, man sweet man buys hotel. Evicts Clerk personally is a searing testament to resilience against systemic racism. The first lesson is the unyielding power of perseverance. Despite brutal setbacks, Evelyn Warwick's slurs, Richard Hale's sabotage, a stabbing and a hostage crisis, Marcus never surrendered. His fight teaches that justice, though costly, demands unwavering resolve even when the system is rigged. Second, the story exposes the depth of institutional bias. Hale's memos, the hotel's policies, and the complicity of police and courts reveal how racism is woven into power structures, requiring collective action to dismantle. Marcus's Crown Collective, though fractured, shows that community solidarity can amplify a single voice. Third, betrayal, Lena's defection, Derek's leak underscores the fragility of trust in a war against hate. Yet Marcus's ability to rebuild alliances with Aisha and Jamal highlights the strength found in chosen loyalty. Finally, the mysterious Viper's loan and the unresolved threat at the end remind us that victories are often incomplete. Racism's roots run deep, and new battles lurk beyond each triumph. Marcus's story urges us to fight on, knowing the cost but embracing the cause. What's your takeaway from Marcus's fight against systemic racism? Comment below, like, subscribe, and share to spark this conversation. Thank you for joining this journey. Here's to courage and justice in every step ahead.